You think people ignore you because they do not see your value. But that is not the real problem. The real problem is this. You have already met them within yourself as one who is unseen. You have imagined their coldness. You have heard their silence. You have expected their indifference. And then, when they finally appear and treat you exactly as you inwardly prepared, you call it proof. But it is not proof. It is an echo. Tonight, I want you to stop blaming the world so quickly. Not because the world is innocent, but because the world is not first. The world is response. The outer man comes late to the scene. The inner conversation has already begun before he arrives. You say they do not value me. But I ask you, have you inwardly accepted yourself as one who must be chosen, heard, respected, and answered? Or have you secretly repeated the old sentence, they will not come, they will not care, they will not see me? This is why so many pray and remain unchanged. They ask to be seen while inwardly they are still the one overlooked. They ask to be chosen while inwardly they are still waiting outside the door. They ask to be praised while inwardly they are still begging for permission to matter. You cannot live inwardly as the rejected one and then be surprised when the world knows your part. The world is not inventing you, it is repeating you. Let me tell you of a man who proved this in a very simple way. He was a writer for television. He worked with a producer, a man reserved in manner, careful in speech, and not given to great praise. This producer had one word for approval: good. That was the height of his expression. A script could be labored over, shaped, cut, polished, and brought to him with care. And when he accepted it, his highest word was still only this: good. Now, the writer did not argue with him. He did not complain that he was not appreciated. He did not go to the producer and say, why do you never praise me? He did not try to draw admiration out of the man by force. That would have been the old way. Instead, he went within. He lay upon his bed and heard this producer say with feeling, great, just great, not as a wish, not as a hope. He heard it as though it had already been spoken. Before the new script was even written, the telephone rang. The producer was calling about the script he had already called good, and now he said the very words the writer had heard within himself. Great, just great. The writer saw the law moving before his eyes, so he went further. He heard the producer say, terrific, and when the next script was submitted, the producer said it. Not coldly, not mechanically. He said it with the same spirit that had been imagined. Then the writer became bolder. He heard the producer say, absolutely sensational. At first, the producer seemed to return to the old word, good. The writer was almost shaken from his faith, but the script needed changes. He took it home, made the revisions, and sent it back. The next day, the telephone rang again, and there from the mouth of that reserved man came the line already spoken within, absolutely sensational. Now listen carefully. The point is not that he made another man flatter him. That is the shallow reading. The point is this. He changed the part another man played in his world by changing the conversation he accepted within himself. He did not begin with the producer. He began with himself. He did not strike the mirror. He changed the face standing before it. And when the inner act was accepted as real, the outer man came forward and spoke his line. This is where most people fail. They want people to change while they remain inwardly the same. They want a friend to call, but they continue to hear abandonment. They want the beloved to choose them, but they continue to hear themselves as second. They want the employer to recognize them, but they continue to hear themselves merely tolerated. They want the world to rise, but inwardly they keep bowing. Then they say, Neville, why has nothing changed? And I answer, because you have not changed the conversation. You are not punished by the world. You are revealed by it. This is not condemnation, it is freedom. For if the world were independent of you, then you would be a victim of every mood, every face, every delay, every silence, every refusal. But if the world is response, then you may begin tonight. You need not wait for them to soften. You need not wait for them to understand. You need not wait for permission to become one who is valued. You begin where all creation begins, within. Ask yourself honestly, when you think of that person, what do you hear? Do you hear them dismissing you? Do you hear them delaying you? Do you hear them choosing another? Do you hear them speaking to you as though you are small? If you do, then do not pretend you're imagining from fulfillment. You're imagining from the old state. And the old state, if accepted as true, becomes a command. So tonight, I give you a very simple instruction. Take one person, not 10. One. Do not choose the whole world. Do not choose every face that has disappointed you. Choose one, the one whose response seems to matter now, the one who has appeared cold, distant, critical, indifferent, or silent. And when you have chosen that person, do not argue with them in imagination. Do not defend yourself. Do not explain your worth. Do not repeat the old trial. Give them a new line. Hear them say what would imply the change is already done. If you have felt unseen, hear them say, I see what you bring. If you have felt unwanted, hear them say, I want you here. If you have felt unappreciated, hear them say, that was excellent. If you have felt ignored, hear them say, I have been thinking of you. If you have felt passed over, hear them say, we choose you. Make it short, make it natural, make it something they could truly say. Then hear it once with feeling. Hear the tone, hear the ease, hear the certainty. Do not make it theatrical, unless the fulfilled state would be theatrical. If the thing would come quietly, let it come quietly. If it would come with joy, let it come with joy. But do not hear it like a beggar standing outside the door. Hear it as the one to whom the door has already opened. You are not trying to persuade them, you are accepting the end. And when you have heard it, leave it alone. This is where faith is needed. Do not return 5 minutes later and ask, has it happened? Do not watch the telephone like a servant waiting for proof. Do not enter the old conversation again. The old conversation is the old man calling you back. Let him die. If the former sentence rises, answer it with the fulfilled one. Not by struggle, not by panic, but by authority. No, this is no longer the part I give them. You have been far too faithful to the treatment you do not want. You remember every delay. You replay every silence. You keep alive every careless word. You nurse the evidence, polish it, repeat it, and then wonder why it returns in new garments. But I tell you tonight, stop repeating the old treatment. Stop teaching the world to overlook you. Stop giving them lines of indifference and then trembling when they speak them. The man in the story did not wait for the producer to become generous. He did not wait for the man's temperament to change. He did not say, this is simply how he is. No, he found the producer within himself and changed the conversation there, and the man without, having no power to resist the accepted state, answered it. This is the secret, not force, not persuasion, not chasing, but inner acceptance. Now do the same with your life. Take the friend, the employer, the beloved, the household, the world itself, and cease giving them the old speech. Do not hear them saying you are forgotten. Do not hear them saying you are too late. Do not hear them saying you are not enough. Hear them say what they would say if your desire were fulfilled. Then believe the hearing Believe it more than the present silence. Believe it more than the old evidence. Believe it more than the face that has not yet softened. For the world is only response. It is an echo of consciousness. And if you do not like the echo, do not curse the wall. Change the sound. Change the word. Change the inner conversation from which the echo comes. You are not here to beg life to see you. You are here to assume that you are seen, and then let life bear witness. So tonight before sleep, choose one person. Give them one new line. Hear it until it feels natural. Then leave it. Do not dig up the seed. Do not arrange the bridge. Do not ask how the mouse will be moved or when the call will come. Your work is the inner act. The world will play its part. Stop rehearsing being ignored. Stop wearing the garment of the unseen one. Put on the new man. Hear the world speak to him. And when it does, do not be amazed. You wrote the line first. Now, let us go into the silence.